Hello, you beautiful POCF supporters, everyone who is listening right now. Welcome to the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. It means so much that we get to hang out every week. It truly does, to know that we're just talking to people who actually get our unique lives. And if you're new here, I'm your host, Megan Waldrop, and we are here, like I mentioned, every week. Anytime you want to tune in, talk about the commercial fishing lifestyle, whether it's safety, finances, relationship, mental health, addiction. We cover all the bases. And today we're talking about safety. And this month's theme, and every single month, to be honest with you, the theme is bringing the feminine into fishing, which is also a theme of advocacy. And I feel these themes complement each other so much because since the beginning of our economic civilization, Partners of Commercial Fishermen have been instrumental in keeping the industry going and protecting our fisheries, our fishermen, and fishing families. And the people at Oregon State University understand this on a deep level, and here's how. Our interview today is with Laurel Kincl, a professor at the College of Health at Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon. In this episode, you'll hear Laurel's passion for what she does and how other industry supporters come together to support our commercial fishermen. Laurel's partnered with many, including Englund Marine, various Oregon fishermen's wives groups, PFD manufacturers, our friends at AMSEA in Sitka, Alaska, and other collaborations to build a program to distribute free life jackets to Oregon fishermen. You may also be inspired by their efforts to bring a program like this into your fishing community. I love learning about projects and programs out there whose goal is to help our fishing communities. There are more than we know, and learning about what they do shows that we are not alone. Let's dive in. I'm Megan Waldrop, host of the Partners of Commercial Fishermen podcast, an extension of an online community for partners to connect and feel less alone. Our podcast invites fishermen, family, friends, and supporters of the industry to learn, laugh, vent, and hear stories about this incredibly unique way of life. What do you say? Let's dive in. Hey, Laurel Kincl, I'm so happy to talk to you again today and hear about all the incredible things that you're doing. And so let's start from the beginning. I want to share with our listeners, tell us more about yourself and where you're from and what you do.
Great. It's great to be here, Megan. Thanks for having me. My name is Laurel Kincl. I'm a professor in the College of Health at Oregon State University, and I've been working for almost over 10 years now with the commercial fishing industry, mostly here in the Pacific Northwest, trying to improve their health and well-being and keep them fishing.
Absolutely. We appreciate your service for 100%. That is our main concern as partners, is our partner safety at all times. And so how did you get involved with fisheries at the university level? For me personally, I'm thinking, oh, it's in the health sector of the college or the university. Mm-hmm. I love that it's tied in with commercial fishing. How did that even come about? Was that a program that was active before you came, or please tell us more?
Well, I'm very fortunate here at Oregon State University. We're a land and sea grant university. So we have extension agents, so faculty that are in all of our coastal regions. And so we have those that focus on supporting commercial fisheries in a wide array of topics. When I arrived at Oregon State University, I had the opportunity to apply for research funding that was specific to commercial fishing safety from the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. I'm in the field of occupational health and safety, so I've worked with a wide variety of industries and really want to just keep people can go to work and come home safe is really what I strive to do. However, I don't have expertise in all these different industries. And so I always reach out to partners. So I reached out to Sea Grant and the extension agents, and I said, we have this opportunity to bring funds here, but I want to do something that is actually helpful for the commercial fishermen. So that's how I got involved. That initial conversation has led to many opportunities to do a wide variety of topics, listening to fishermen about what they feel keeps them safe, and then what they think they need in order to stay safe. So we have really tried to be responsive and do things, hopefully, that they feel support them, and use our science and our understanding working with them to bring these resources and opportunities to them.
I love this so much. Thank you for that. And curious if you ever had any kind of experience with commercial fishing before you entered this space.
Just recreationally, I love, and I'm a consumer, so I love eating fish, all crab, all of it. I grew up on the Gulf Coast, so my family just recreational fished, and always have enjoyed it. And so, no, I don't have any commercial ties.
Yeah, that counts though. Thank you for your support in the fishing industry. There's so many different aspects of fishing, as we know. And a lot of our commercial fishermen and POCFs are huge sport fishers as well. Question, where did you grow up on the Gulf Coast?
I was born in Port Arthur, Texas, and we quickly moved to New Orleans. And so I lived in New Orleans through elementary school and then moved all around the world. So you don't need to know my whole history. But
wait, are you a military brat or something that you moved all over?
Interesting. Everyone asks me that. My father actually works for the oil industry. And so, that's what took him around the world, being an engineer in oil and gas.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, a shout out to our Gulf Coast fishermen and our partners, commercial fishermen, because they are dealing with their own worlds within that Gulf Coast. And I feel that, from my understanding, speaking to some people in our community, that there isn't as much support as there is on the East Coast or the West Coast. And so if anybody has any kind of support out there or knows of any types of organizations, please email me at support@pocfpride.com. I'd love to help link our members with that support. So thank you for that. Thanks for the side note. I always have to shout out to our Southern sisters and brothers out there. So, okay, let's go back to the personal flotation device project. And I'm not sure if I'm actually saying this correctly or if it's a project or how you want to say it, but PFD, we will refer to it from now on, a personal flotation device, for those who are not familiar with that term. So could you please tell us the name, the mission, and how did it start and where that idea came about?
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you about it. It has been just a wonderful experience. We have funding to provide life jackets, or PFDs, to commercial fishermen using a unique approach. And our goal, our mission of this, we titled the project Flip for Life Jackets. Flip comes from Fisherman-Led Injury Prevention Program, which was the tagline we adopted when we first started working in there. And again, trying to listen to fishermen and research and provide resources and information on what they're interested in. We got the project, it started with a project that I was actually done on the East Coast, kind of speaking to what you were mentioning. And the East Coast is an equivalent center. My project is funded by the Pacific Northwest Agricultural Safety and Health Center. There is a Northeast Center based in New York that works with commercial fishermen in the Northeast. So they wanted to see if they could use social marketing in order to provide life jackets, or PFDs. The fishermen actually selected themselves, had the ability to try them on, got educated about the different models as well as the maintenance of them, and then had a reduced price. So their project was super successful. They did a model where they drove around in a van and had all these life jackets that fishermen, they had done some preliminary work to engage fishermen in conversations about what models they wanted to see. And they also work with local marine suppliers, because it's getting a product out into the industry, which us at universities and research centers, we don't normally sell stuff. So we have to collaborate with those. And we also want it to be sustainable. We want to support the marine suppliers and help inform them about what models and what works in getting fishermen to actually purchase and wear a life jacket. So our main mission is just to get life jackets that fishermen will actually wear, and spread awareness about the different varieties so that they can make a selection. We know fishermen have different preferences. They use different gear. There's different seasons. There's all sorts of factors that go into what they might want to wear. In addition, really what is best for them is what they will wear. And so it doesn't necessarily need to be a Coast Guard approved life jacket. because if it will keep you afloat and in a situation, it's really what is going to serve you the best. So this life jacket for lobstermen started years ago, I believe almost 10 years ago, and it was a 5-year project. And I was aware of it. And so I spoke with the researchers there and said, we would love to do, you're having such success. I wonder if we could take what you're doing and try it over here. And they were like super supportive and like, let's do this. But you'll need to tailor it. You'll need to adapt it because you have different fisheries. We don't have lobster over here in the Pacific Northwest. And so we did that. So we're just finished our second year. So in the first 2 years, what we wanted to do was talk with various stakeholders. So talk with the marine suppliers, talk with the commodity groups here, talk with the port authorities and the harbor masters, and talk with fishermen. And so we did interviews with about 54 partners. And then we also did interviews with fishermen directly. Well, we found that fishermen, some did report that they actually wore a life jacket, many did, but we also found that those who said they weren't aware of models, they said they don't wear life jackets. So basically, if they just don't know about it, they're not going to invest the money. It's gear they have to buy. And so what we're trying to do, we learned from them when we interviewed fishermen. We also had the different models that we were aware of that has worked well with the fisheries in the East Coast. And we were like, out of all these, what speaks to you? Like, what draws to you? So we narrowed it down to about 4 or 5, I think actually 7 different types. So we went then to fishermen groups, and in particular fishermen wives group, and I'm located in Corvallis, Oregon, and our nearest coastal town is Newport. So in Oregon State University has a big research facility there as well, and so we have a lot of ties with the Newport community. The university does. So I've worked with the fishermen's wives before, and every time I've had a project, we go and present to them and we talk with them, we get their input, their feedback, and they've been super supportive with their mission. So when we presented this to the Newport fishermen's wives, they were like, we want to do this, but we don't want fishermen to have to pay for any life jacket. We have funds, they raise a lot of funds, and we feel like this is the one thing that it's worth spending the money on. And they really liked, they have a Fisherman's Appreciation Day before the start of the crab season, usually November, that families come to, all the crew, they're prepping their gear, and they cook some hamburgers for them. They could make breakfast for them. They cook hamburgers for them. And the fishermen just do feel appreciated, come and get the food. There's also community resources, books for the kids. The Coast Guard comes and does little demos. A wide variety of resources are there. So they invited us to come, and they said, if you can come, and we created the partnership with Englund Marine, which is the main marine supply store in the state of Oregon. And they're lovely, and they've been supporters of the project from when we started. So Englund's was really happy. We also, to support this, also Kent, the Rogue vest was the one that the commercial fishermen here in the Pacific Northwest that fish for crab really like. It is not an inflatable, and so it is just really, there's no straps or tags or pulls to get entangled in anything. It fits tight to the chest. It has foam in the front and in the back, so they feel like it provides them padding when leaning against the rail, plus leaning against the sorting table. And so we knew that this was a model that they wanted. And so Kent gave us a steep discount that Englund Marines could buy. So we got it at a reduced cost for the fishermen's wives. Our project contributed funds, and the fisherman's wife contributed funds. And what we decided to do was ask fishermen just for a $25 gift, a donation to the fishermen's wives to help replenish their supplies so they can continue to do their work. And the fishermen were amazing. They were very interested. We let them try on the different sizes. We talked to them about it. We showed the features. We described how they took care of it. We gave over 100, I think, and 50 out that day to crew and to fishermen. So that was the year before last year. And it was so successful. The fishermen's wives were like, we have to keep doing this. We were also interested in doing it in other ports. I mean, it's great to serve the fishermen in Newport, but we were like, how do we use this model if we get Englund Marine? They were amazing. They have staff that the fishermen just really trust and connect with. And they did all the ordering, and then fishermen would come afterwards because we couldn't have all the sizes and that number of life jackets there that day. And the fishermen came back to England's and picked up their life jacket. And if they couldn't, we met them at the dock and said, here's your life jacket. So it was so successful. We really wanted to turn this into something that was bigger. So we wanted to not only have the Kent Rogue. I know we worked with a variety of manufacturers. Stormline makes a really nice bib that has, again, the foam built into basically skins that you may need to wear anyway. So why not have flotation in them? We work with Mustang Survival, Spinlock. I mean, we worked with a wide variety. So this year, we wanted to broaden our offering of the life jackets. And so our partners in the New England, they're also continuing to work with other fisheries beyond lobstermen. And so they've been trying to tie opportunities with life jackets into the training. Like when they do the drill conducting training, which is mandatory for crew, as well as first aid training and other navigation and things like that. So they wanted to create the opportunity there. Also, our partners at AMSEA up in Sitka, Alaska, they also had a project to provide life jackets. Since they organized drill conducting training throughout the US, they also wanted to give it. So all of these efforts kind of, we're all talking to each other and supporting each other. We're not trying to compete. We're trying to get life jackets to fishermen. So those two programs were doing a different approach. As I mentioned to you, we were offering it for free, and if they wanted to give a donation. And so we didn't have any strings attached. They were offering it through rebates. And so the fishermen would have to pay for the life jacket and then submit something for a rebate. They found that that did not work very well. They were not getting life jackets out with either of those programs. So AMSEA contacted us and said, our grant is ending and we have all these funds because we haven't successfully given all this. Can we partner with you and provide these life jackets? So we collaborated with AMSEA. And when we did the drill conducting courses in Oregon and Washington this fall, we had a wide variety, more of the life jackets there so the fishermen could try on the different ones, learn about them, ask questions. They even wore them, in the drill conducting courses. You see that they do actual hands-on tests of some of the activities that they have to do. So they put on the life jackets when they were, doing those so they could feel what it felt like to wear them. And so again, because it was with our program, we got the size and the type that they want. And then if we didn't have their actual size and the type there that day, we sent it to the fishermen afterwards, partnering with AMSEA and with England's. And so the one thing, but feel free to ask me a question. I feel like I'm so excited about this. I'm just rambling.
No, you're doing great. I love that you mentioned the Newport Fishermen's Wives and AMSEA. The women that are behind those names and those groups are just incredible. And they absolutely care so much. And it's so lovely to talk to them every time because they are there for our commercial fishermen.
Absolutely. And they are amazing. I mean, just amazing human beings with a drive that is just unbelievable for their fishermen. So I'm really excited then to share this with you. Our Newport Fishermen's Wives, we're also aware of other Fishermen's Wives groups, one in Charleston, it's called Charleston Fishing Families, and then one in Astoria, which is Fish Her. And we have been partnering with them, but they also, all of these organizations are just volunteer driven, and they really are trying to be responsive to fishermen. So we talked to them about the project, and they were like, we absolutely want to do this, but we're not quite as well funded as Newport Fishermen's Wives. This happened to coincide with a time in Oregon. There's a workforce development fund specifically for maritime, the coastal communities. And we were aware of our Sea Grant partner was able to secure some funding for young fishermen, like to help foster youth learning about commercial fishermen. And she was like, you should apply for this gear. Like they would totally pay for gear for your project. I wanted to empower the women to be able to get these. And so my research assistant, Amelia Vaughn, who lives in Newport and does a lot of the direct contacts with them. It was very simple to write. So she and I wrote it up, and she asked them what they wanted to include. So some of them wanted to include fish permits. Some of them wanted to include knives, to go along with it. Like they tailored it to what they felt that their fishermen wanted. So we got the Newport Fisherman's Wife this year received the funding. They also received funding from the Siletz tribe, which is a community-based thing. So we kind of pieced together funding. So again, we're reducing that cost for the fishermen. The fishermen did not have to pay for the life jacket. They could do a donation, but we just felt like many of the fishermen, because it's before the season starts, they're like, it's really difficult I don't have cash on hand. Like I just don't have money because the season's just starting, but we want to give it to them at the beginning of the season so that they have it for the season. So we did that, and Newport Fisherman's Wife was really happy to collaborate with Charleston Fishing Families. They also received a grant through the same mechanism and copied. So they have now given out in Charleston, I think, over 150 life jackets with their fishing permits and everything. And they have just been empowered and amazing. And they receive the fund directly. Like we just let them make the decisions and then do how they want to do that. We're also now working with Fish Her. They came down to Newport and we hosted them. They met with our Newport Fishermen's Wives. So we get a little bit of, those women need support in their support, if that makes sense. Just helping to build their network. They learned so much about how they did their appreciation day that now they're hosting an appreciation day in April and have received the funds. And so we're going to do a big life jacket education event with our Flip for Life jackets there as well. And so it just seems like this synergy of having a little bit of resources that's given to these communities, empowering these women that run these volunteer organizations to we could actually get something, meaningful out. And so it's just amazing. I think we have in our efforts with the trainings and then with these events with the Fishermen's Wives, we've given out we're also doing this in Washington with the training, and we're going to really focus in the state of Washington next year and trying to help spread this network out there. So we're not trying to neglect them. So we did have opportunities for fishermen up there. But to date, in total, I think we have 400 and almost 50 life jackets in the hands of fishermen. And what we did, just because we give them a life jacket, we're also interested in then what happens then. So we asked the fishermen if we could reach out to them. And so we have their phone numbers and cell phones. And so we're beginning to text them with just a little bit of social media, an image, and saying, hey, your life jacket is, wear it. Fishing is a tradition, preserve it, wear that life jacket. Mm-hmm. And so we have a series of posters, and I can send them to you, Megan, that we developed. And when we did the events this fall, we asked fishermen to react to them. So we've adapted them and we're posting them in all the ports now. And go ahead.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I appreciate your passion so much. It's so nice to know that this is available for our fishermen. And I wanted to back up a little bit and ask, well, let's talk about the life vest. I know that there's seven different styles you mentioned. How are they generally worn? Are they worn over the bib, over everything? Are they worn underneath the jacket, over the bib? Are they worn under the bib? For us, for the partners that don't know, how do the PFDs work?
Yeah, well, it depends on the style and it depends on whether it's inflatable. The inflatables have to be worn on the outside because once they inflate, it would pop, it may be very uncomfortable if you're restricting it within. The rogue vest that I mentioned is meant to be worn tight. You probably wear a shirt underneath, but typically they wear it underneath and then have their gear on top of it and layers on top of it. So I think it totally depends. And there's instructions with each manufacturer. And so there's guidance on how you wear it. And so there's a variety of styles, and depending on the style, in some areas, we mentioned Gulf Coast. I do know that researchers have worked on the issue they have there is the heat, because wearing an additional layer does tend to increase, and especially you're physically working. And so you're building internal heat. And then if you have a life jacket on top, a PFD on top, you can overheat. And so they have issues with that. And so I do think some styles, and I know they were working with some designers to see if they could make materials that were more breathable and things like that. So in our area, especially the Dungeness crab is in the winter time, so it's cold. And so the extra layer, many have said the extra warmth is one of the bonuses of it. But it's a good point. I think it really depends where you are, and it depends on the style of life jacket on how it has to be worn.
Yep. Okay. Thank you so much.
Good question.
Thanks. Yes. It's nice for POCFs to understand how it all works because that helps ease our minds. It helps ease our hearts when they're out there fishing. If something's going to go wrong, sometimes we can spiral, and just having a better understanding of the operations on the boat make us feel calmer inside, which is always the calm nervous system is the ultimate success in life. And for partners of commercial fishermen, I want that for us so much. It's something that we constantly, need to work on or have to check in with ourselves in order to maintain that positive mental health and trust in our fishermen. And so you mentioned we reach out to them. There's a group, it seems that there's not just Laurel Kincl who is spearheading this like a unicorn, and it's great. When you say we, are you talking about students? Are you talking about professors? Are you talking about other community members? Who are you talking about?
That's a great question. I certainly do not work alone. I'm very collaborative. As I mentioned, I have a stellar, project coordinator, Amelia Vaughn, who's worked with me throughout this and has a really good tie. I think she's now on the board of the Newport Fishermen's Wives because of all of her work with them. So she is just phenomenal community outreach person. So we obviously, she's funded on my project. So we collaborate immensely. I have Sea Grant, as I mentioned, extension agents. So Amanda Gladys is a big partner, and she has a partner grant doing first aid training. And so that's why we're able to collaborate. And she's a big supporter of getting the life jackets to fishermen through their work outreach. And she's also working on the young fishermen stuff. And so we collaborate quite closely. Angie Dorr is the other Sea Grant extension agent, and she is located in Newport. And she actually is one of our instructors for the safety training. And so she's a big advocate and supporter. We also work with Washington Sea Grant. They have an extension agent Robert Maw. He is amazing. He's a fisherman in Alaska, so he's part-time at Sea Grant, and he does their training, and his energy and support has been valuable on this project as well. I also have another research assistant that works with me here in Corvallis, Sharon Chang. And so she's helping on the back end with all of the, as I mentioned, we get all the information from the fishermen. So getting it all in a way that we can work with it and analyze it and stuff. And so she's immensely helpful in that. And then we do have actually undergraduate students. I have just through our program here at Oregon State University, we try to engage younger people into research. And so we can mentor young students. So I have 3 that just received the funding literally last week. And so they're amazing. They are first or second year students. And so really excited. And all of them, I interviewed them and I told them that it would be with this project, helping us with some of this work. And their passion for wanting to help workers, and each of them have a unique input on why they think commercial fishing is so valuable. And so we also at Oregon State University have what we call eCampus. And so you can get a degree completely online. And so one of the students funded actually lives in Houston and lives on the coast. And she's like, I care about the fishermen here. This is so great. She's so excited to be working on the project and learn about how to do this work.
That's great. Gulf Coast represent down there.
I know.
Awesome.
The students are just amazing. And then I do want to say this project is funded by the Pacific Northwest Agricultural Safety and Health Center. I think I mentioned that in the beginning. So we also have a team of people. They have what they call their outreach core. And so there's a wide variety of people who have expertise in designing and communicating our work. And so, as I mentioned, our project is social marketing. We're trying to get images and messages. And so, so they have been just amazing in supplying us the resources and the expertise in that. And also, they're located up in Seattle, and so they also help coordinate our efforts up in Washington. So yeah, there's an army of people, and the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard has also been a huge supporter. Obviously, they are the ones that ran the drill connecting trainings, and they were like, we want you here. And they have just been so gracious, and of course, care deeply about the health and well-being of fishermen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love all of the team that you have back behind you. It sounds like you have such a rich community of people to support you and to support our fishing community. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for doing what you do. And this brings it full circle, because this month, and I feel every month in the Partners of Commercial Fishermen community, is the theme of bringing feminine into fishing. That's what I like to call it, which is also a huge theme of advocacy. And I feel these themes complement each other because since the beginning of our economic civilization, POCFs have been instrumental in keeping the industry going, protecting our fisheries, fishermen, and fishing families. And I want to shout that out, reflect that out to our audience, so they know their value and their worth, even though they might not realize it every single day. You are part of a huge lineage that have been doing this for centuries. And thank you for all that you do. Whether it's, advocacy can come in many forms. It could be talking about your life on social media. It's definitely listening with an open heart and loving your fishermen. That's a huge part of advocacy. You could, while you're informing your family or friends who are not in the industry about your lifestyle surrounding wild caught fish is a huge part of advocacy. Speaking to customers when you're direct to consumer fishing business is another big part. And advocating for yourself and your relationship to make sure that your needs are met. There's lots of different ways that advocacy is a part of this lifestyle. And like we mentioned before, advocating that your partner wear a PFD. This is how we advocate for their safety and for our mental well-being. And I'd love to know, you mentioned this before, but could you get into the specifics on how you distribute PFDs to fishermen? Is it you're at a warehouse or you're at the Fishermen's Wives group, wherever they happen to be, and you're literally handing the PFDs, or the fishermen picking them up at Englund Marine? How does this work? How does the distribution work?
Yeah, we try to work with the local community to see what works best. And as I mentioned, when we're at the events, at the training, we have the life jackets there and the fishermen are there for a certain amount of hours for the training anyway. And so during breaks, we ask them to come up and try them on. And then we have a little session where we do the education around them. So those events, we're able to bring them there. But again, if they we don't have the size on hand and we can't hand it out to them, we gather their information and then we order it. And if it's in the community, the fishermen can come back in both Astoria, I believe in Charleston and Newport. We had them go to Englund's because they go to Englund's. It's the marine supply store. So it's very close to the docks. It's very convenient. And the fishermen often go there for a wide variety of things, as well as meetings and stuff. It's just the gathering spot, the hub, I think. And so we the marine supply store will order it and then have it there. And so then we send a text. We find texting fishermen is the best way. Yeah. We send them a text and we're like, your life jacket is there. Can you come pick it up? And so either they come pick it up, or if they're like, oh, I really can't, we make the effort. And either my research assistant or somebody at England said, okay, I'll bring it out to you, out to the dock. So a wide variety of ways. We try to make it easy for the fishermen wherever they are, certainly. And so we've had them, again, it's hard to have, you can't have 200 life jackets. So it's not a warehouse, we're just there trying to get them to try it on and engage them. But typically it's a few days or a week, and then we get them the life jackets. When we were working with AMSEA, AMSEA was actually arranging, they were ordering it from the manufacturer, and then the manufacturer was mailing it directly to the fishermen. So it was arriving at their home or nice. whatever address they provided.
Yeah, that's great. If someone's listening right now, they're in Oregon and they want to get a PFD, how do they get one? Do they have to wait till there's an event? Is there someone they can reach out to? How would that work?
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly reach out if you're in one of the ports and know these fishermen's wives groups. Definitely reach out to them. You can reach out to my project. I think I'll give you the website. We have a website and you can contact us. Again, we're trying to work with these communities and focus on these events. And we do have events planned coming up. But yeah, and also England's, if you go to England's, we're all connected. And so if we start hearing that fishermen need life jackets, we'll figure it out. We will work with England's and the fishermen's wives to see what we can do to get that order fulfilled.
Great. And then what is the website off the top of your head? And then I will also include it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's flipresources.org. And so FLIP, again, is the Fisherman-Led Injury Prevention Program. So flipresources.org.
So it's FLIPP resources.org. Okay.
Yep.
That will be in the show notes. And if someone goes to Englund Marine, do they say, hey, I need a free life jacket? Will they immediately know what they're talking about? Or do they say, hi, I need a life jacket. I am with the FLIP resource program. Like, what terminology would they use?
Yeah. And just say, I heard about that Oregon State University Flip for Life Jackets. How can I get in?
Great. I'm thinking of it like a speakeasy, like they need to say a secret passcode in order to get the Flip life jacket. So now y'all got the code.
Maybe we should think of that.
Oh yeah. There we go. It's all happening, guys. Yeah, that's great. So the Oregon State Flip, what was it? Flip for life? No.
For life jackets.
Oh, Flip for life jackets. Okay. I was right. Cool. Thank you so much for that. And you mentioned before about following up with fishermen, texting them or connecting with them on social media. So what will you do with that feedback? Is that feedback that you will then say, hey, PFD companies, they don't like this part of the PFD, and then they will tweak the gear for the fisherman's feedback? What is the goal with the feedback?
Great. We told the fishermen when we gave them a life jacket, we said, we're going to follow up in 6 months, and we have a short survey. So the survey will be about how that life jacket functioned for them. And so we will solicit information, whether it fit right, whether it, they noticed anything about it interfering with their work. And again, their feedback on anything with the design. And then we also want to know if they wore it, like we're trying to see that, like, does this work? If we give life jackets to fishermen, will they wear it when they're fishing? And they don't have to wear it all the time, but we're trying to, at least when you're on deck, be wearing it, because you never plan to go overboard. It's something, a fall overboard isn't something that, yeah, so wear it when you're on deck. And so we're trying to solicit the feedback from them about their experience with the life jacket and to see if they're actually wearing it. We'll collate all that information and provide it back to fishermen, say, hey, again, we're trying to create this culture of everyone wears one, that's just something that you wear. And so if we message out like, look, all these people are wearing life jackets, so get on board.
Absolutely. I
But
know.
then also we do work with the manufacturers. And so if we learn things, and they have been responsive, this Rogue life jacket, the Kent Rogue, was actually developed over 12 years ago when they did a project asking fishermen here in the Pacific Northwest that were crabbers what they liked. And so this was the design that they helped inform, and it evolved using the fisherman feedback. So it is amazing, with materials, there's always something, that could be improved. And so we do seek input on how we could improve these so that they function better for the fishermen.
Got it. Thank you for that. Yeah, fishermen, it's interesting. When I was talking to my husband, this was maybe a year ago when we spoke, or maybe longer than that.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but I was talking about life jackets, and I said, so what life jacket do you use? And he was kind of hemming and hawing, and I'm like, okay. I said, well, what is your safety precaution? What are you going to do? He's like, don't fall overboard. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yes, that sounds great.
Yes,
And also
that is absolutely true. Don't fall overboard.
but also I'm like, we got to beef up this safety plan. Like, what's going on? And honestly, I don't even know I guess it depends on each fishery, but are life jackets even required to be worn by fishermen? Because I know that they have to have safety survival suits on board, and they have to have certain other precautions, but are life jackets even required?
They're not required to be worn on board. There is no Coast Guard requirement. Some of the captains we speak to have policies. So I think in the only instances I've heard as if it's the policy on the vessel, but no, it is not required to be worn by the Coast Guard.
And the vest, the Kent life vest that you mentioned before, I did see it at Pacific Marine Expo a couple years ago, and that was, like you said, the crab fishermen of the Bering Sea, that was the jacket that they preferred. And I realized from talking with them, it was because it was, like you said, it didn't have anything hanging off of it. There was no way that it could be caught into a piece of machinery or any kind of equipment on board. And so they really enjoyed that vest. So yes, I appreciate us talking about this and hopefully normalizing wearing a life vest, because we love our fishermen. We want the best for you always. We want you to fish many bountiful seasons, and this is one of the ways that you can do it, and also ease your partner's heart. Like, come on, guys, like, let's come on, people. Let's talk about your loved ones back at home. Like, they really, really care for your safety. And that's great that there's a program out there that they can get free life vests if you're in Oregon, especially. So definitely reach out. And so I wanted to know, the university has partnered with Partners of Commercial Fishermen in the past, and wondering, do you have a program that directly helps fishing businesses or provides financial support to that community?
I don't personally, like at the university. However, as I mentioned, I think regionally, like in Oregon, there's a workforce development fund. And so I do think, and that was mandated by the legislature. And so I do think getting involved in understanding and with workforce development areas, I do think there's opportunities within states. I mean, we're not the only state. I don't know if you've ever talked with Fishing Partnership Support Services that's based in Massachusetts. They're also funded by their state. And so I do think the women playing a role supporting in these groups can consider advocating for legislation that provides funds for a wide variety of resources to support commercial fishing.
Great. Thank you
I
for
think
that.
is good, but I don't, but it's something to continue to work on. And yeah.
Great. Thank you. So what other projects, or if you do you have any other projects in the future or have any other projects in mind?
I do think we're continuing our training of fishermen and trying to incorporate an information that is helpful for fishermen. And so I do know that there's efforts regionally. We don't know currently whether they'll get funded or not, but we are interested in supporting mental health and behavioral health. We hear that a lot about how stressful things are. And appropriate ways to support that. And so that is what I'm aware of. But again, we're just we have a 5-year project and we're right now kind of in the middle of it. So I do expect to be focused on this. And I want to kind of bring it full circle a little bit. When we did talk with fishermen and we asked what would make them wear a life jacket, there was a wide variety of things, but one common theme we heard is that if my wife makes me do it, or my spouse, if my wife tells me to. So yes, just
Yes.
to say that feminine side of this has more importance than you can imagine.
Absolutely. Yes. Our power as partners of commercial fishermen go beyond the docks and the boats. We are the ones that can truly connect with our fishermen for them to see a new perspective and also to really take in what other people might be saying. But we can say, listen, honey, listen, let me break it down in words that they can actually receive and hear it in a loving way. And that is one of the most important parts of our jobs as partners, is the fact that we do have that influence. And I feel that as women, now I feel like I'm going to go off, but I am. As women, it's sometimes we feel like we can be second rate in so many areas. And I feel like commercial fishing is another industry that can make us feel that way, because it is so intimidating to go into this fishing industry. I mean, it's male dominated. It is rough. It is hard. It is challenging. And you're thinking, how do I even fit into this? I'm speaking from my personal experience. When I first started dating my husband, I I didn't even really want to talk about it that much. I wasn't even that interested in it because I felt so intimidated. And I felt like this is a language and this is a community that I will never really belong. Like it's something that I don't feel like I could even understand where they're coming from. And, thankfully, this amazing community came about because I wrote a piece called 9 Things to Know About Dating a Commercial Fisherman, because I Googled how to date a commercial fisherman, and there was absolutely nothing online
Nothing.
about the lifestyle. And I'm thinking that is insane, considering what this lifestyle is and how similar it is to the military spouse's experience. And
Yes.
so I just wrote that just to throw it up on the internet and didn't expect to hear anything. And that was the one post that I got emails from all over the world, women saying, I totally understand where you're coming from. And it still makes me want to cry thinking about it. And that belongingness really means so much. And understanding, talking to you and other professionals and really understanding how powerful we are as partners of commercial fishermen. And we literally are the reason that the industry is successful in so many freaking ways. And one of them is our influence on our fishermen. So thank you for reflecting that to us, as this is someone on the ground. It's not just me because I'm biased. This is Laurel Kincl, who understands, who has been out there and is seeing the power within the partners. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
I appreciate you. Thanks for doing your work. It
No,
all comes together.
it does. It brought me to you. We connected at the
Yes.
Pacific Marine Expo and hit it off. I was like, heck yeah, we need to connect more. I need to know more about this woman, Laurel. She's amazing. So is there anything that you would like to add, or you hope that is the biggest takeaway from our conversation today?
Well, I hope you hear the caring. I hope you hear that we want to keep you fishing, and this isn't over. I think we want to continue this effort to get what is needed out to the commercial fishermen. And so, if you do have the opportunity to partner locally and can tap into opportunities, do it. And I hope to talk to you again and just keep continuing brainstorming ways that we can help your audience feel valued and feel important.
Oh, thank you so much. You have an open door anytime. We'd love to hear about your progress as it comes along. So thank you so much for your time, Laurel. And we'll see you next time on the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Thank you so much for listening. To support our community, I'd so appreciate it if you'd tap the subscribe button to this podcast or write a review. And if you're a POCF who wants to connect further, go to POCFpride.com for weekly vlogs and to learn about opportunities to join our private communities. We'd love to have you.